You all, my heart is so tender. I know I will cry some, but in an effort not to cry the whole time, there were so many images and memories that flashed through my mind as we were reading these names. And I do want to call to mind Nancy Creecraft Brown driving that yellow hot rod and how much she loved that car and loved to drive. Okay, all right, so this morning I had my laptop computer on my lap, tapping away on the keyboard, and my cat came in, hopped up beside me and eyed that laptop. As she did this, it was as if she was determining, why was this other creature sitting on my lap? Why was this thing getting the attention and love from this large being who feeds me and loves me and keeps me safe? My cat peered at me, back at the laptop, and then stepped onto the keyboard, claiming her place. We gazed at each other. She purred and kept stepping on the keyboard, tapping out strange words, opening new screens. I lifted the keyboard and the cat and set them aside and cleared my lap just for her. She purred louder, satisfied, and assured of her place in my heart, knowing she was my beloved. She cuddled up beside me, fine to let me resume my time with this other creature, in her sweet cat way, following that ancient pull to seek the one who calls us beloved. So earlier this week, I was listening to a podcast interview with Susan Cain, and she was talking about her new book, Bittersweet. How sorrow and longing make us whole. She talked about bittersweetness as the place where joy and sorrow meet, and that this place is a gateway, a portal, and it is an opening to creativity, to connection, and to love. Her words so poignantly speak to our lives. In the last few weeks, we have celebrated the amazing lives of Phyllis Eggenberger, June Batzel, and just yesterday, Bob Thomas. Thinking of each of them and each person whose name we read, I am filled with bitter sweetness. The ways they lived their lives, the grief of those who knew them best, and the bitter sweetness of our community. Over these last 12 months, we have lost so many saints of our church. Many who were active members here for decades, active in every kind of ministry, making and keeping baptismal vows for generations of children. Great examples to us of all the different ways we live out our lives as disciples of Jesus Christ. Even as we celebrate them as our saints now in glory, our hearts ache. Susan Cain says this heartache brings us closer to the sublime. This feeling of longing, if we can be attentive to it, it is our guide to the sacred. She asks us to remember a time when a work of art moved us to tears, or when music that is tied to countless memories, like the first chords of For All the Saints, or so beautiful it touches our soul. I'm sorry. The natural response is to cry. This is a spiritual impulse. In those moments, we are experiencing an expression of that more perfect and beautiful world that we come from and we yearn to return to. We are feeling homesick for God. Let me just blow my nose real quick. Jesus came and lived among us. I believe that when Jesus met somebody, that person felt like my cat. They had that incredible moment of looking into Jesus's eyes and experiencing with their whole body, I am fully loved. Of course, they quit what they were doing and followed him. However, the disciples, the followers of Jesus, all of us, we're so very human, fully human, imperfect, wounded, competitive, worried about the future, anxious about the past, so eager to love and be loved, so fearful of the vulnerability of it all. Jesus sees all of this, and it breaks his heart, how hard it is for us to know we are beloved. To believe what God desires most with us is connection. We see this joy laced with sorrow as Jesus gathers the disciples together for what he knows will be their last meal together. He knows how they will long for his presence, and he looks at each of them, his eyes full of love, and he says, whenever you gather together and share bread, I will be there. When you drink, remember, I am with you still, bringing consolation for all that wounds and separates you from God's love. Through this bread and this cup, we are united. We are one. Jesus meets us in our longing with love and with compassion. May we follow that ancient pull to seek the one who calls us beloved, to come again to this table, sharing the bread of life, the cup of salvation with one another, with Christ, and with all our saints in glory. May it be so. Amen.